All right. Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad to have you. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Well, my name is Jacob Johnson. I run the Muscular Christianity Instagram page. That's probably how most people know me. I'm also a seminary student currently, and I serve as a youth pastor in the Middle Tennessee, Nashville area. And I compete in powerlifting, and kind of the main focus of my page is getting guys in the gym who are in church, and then getting guys who are in church in the gym, and getting guys in the gym in the church, kind of bringing those two worlds together.
That's awesome. Where you go to seminary at?
So I'm currently a student at Welch Divinity School. It's in Gallatin, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville.
Okay. Yeah. I went to Southern in Louisville.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, a lot of my professors got their doctorates from Southern, and if I get a doctorate, that's probably where I'll end up going.
Yeah, that's it's on the list of things. I've been going back and forth, and I've been out. I think I graduated in 2016. And I'm at that point where I'm like, I either need to commit or not commit.
Right.
We have 4 kids now, and it's like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment, but I'm afraid if I don't get back into it, I'll lose that, because it's kind of a mindset deal. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be in that kind of mindset to how to write and do those things, because some of it's practical, but some of it's not. And I'm afraid I'll lose it if I don't really get back into it. So
Right.
I've been looking at some of their programs. I've been looking at some at Midwestern as well. I like what they're doing out there. But so you're a youth pastor. How do you like it?
Yes, I absolutely love it. Ministry is just the heart of everything that I do. I love ministry. My school obviously is tied into ministry, and learning how to be an effective minister of the gospel. I'm so privileged to be able to work with a great group of young people. I love getting to preach to them. I just love being a mentor. Just every aspect of ministry, I absolutely love it. I definitely feel called to do it, and if I didn't feel called to do it, I wouldn't be doing it. So
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I did youth ministry for a lot of years. I'm not that old, but it's I'm a pastor at a rural church now, and I was doing youth ministry when I was 18, I think is when I started, or 17, one of those two. And yeah, it takes, and my thing, I always enjoyed junior high more than senior high, which is normally opposite of most people. But man, when you get them in that transitional phase, it's just, there's so much you can just pour into them at that moment, because they're right on that fence. You've seen it, I'm sure. Like, which way are you going to go? Which way are you not? So let me ask you this. I didn't plan this, but are you optimistic about some of the teenagers you see coming out right now?
Yes and no. And if any of my youth group kids end up watching this, I'm talking about y'all specifically. I'm just talking about teenagers broadly. I say no, because obviously, it's easy for us to get up on our, hobby horses and complain about a lot of young people today. And back in my day, we did this. But I want to say yes, because I've actually, being on Instagram and running the Muscular Christianity Instagram page, it gives me a very unique opportunity, because there's so many, like, gym culture in the past 10 years has just exploded. The amount of people in the gym, especially young people, just kind of like the subculture of, bodybuilding, powerlifting has just exploded. And what I'm finding is I have so many high school guys that follow my page, and they come for the lifting advice, and just they ask me lifting questions. But then, man, I also get a lot of guys that they're in high school and they have no prior connection to church at all, and they just came across a Bible, and they'll ask me questions about it, and they'll ask me to explain them passages of scripture, and even in personal interactions that I've had at the gym that I go to, I think that a lot of the generation that's in, junior, senior year of high school right now, and a lot of them are really just hungering for the gospel, and they're very receptive to it. And that's what I've found out. And I think the main thing is that they want, real, legitimate, serious answers. They don't want to gimmick. They just want somebody to tell them the truth, and just to be honest with them. And
Yeah.
especially I found that through a lot of my interactions on Instagram, is that there's so many people that just want, serious answers to serious questions. And I think that they're more open to the gospel maybe than generations have been in the past. Although, I'm not saying that with any kind of authority. That's just kind
Yeah.
of it's not like oh, there goes the Jesus freaks kind of thing. It's like, they're willing to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Do you think COVID had something to do with that?
I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Me
I
too.
think having, like, you know a lot of things stripped away, and I think they realized.
Yeah.
I mean, I say they, but I mean me too. I think that everybody, but especially teenagers, kind of realize how superficial some things in this world are, and how social media and hype and all these consumerism, everything that they're pressured into, how it doesn't bring lasting peace, and it doesn't bring fulfillment, and that there's something greater there.
Yeah. I've seen the same thing. I think you're spot
Mhm.
on, man. I've seen there just seems to be a curiosity that wasn't there before. That they're looking for something more grounded, more solid, I think. And I mean,
Definitely.
we know it's the gospel that they're looking for that's just kind of getting them to that point where they realize that's what they've been looking for. But I
Right.
hear you. Yeah, yeah, I think you're spot on with that. So you're into weightlifting, obviously, Muscular Christianity. I
Mhm.
follow quite a bit. So I little backstory. I got back into it about 4 years ago. I'd gotten away, seminary, school, kids, all that kind of stuff. It just gets away from you. And I realized there were some other issues, some heart things going on with others in my family, and then just some issues I was having just mentally. And I found that the more I lifted, the more my mental clarity, it became much more clear for me. It was a way that I could kind of just let things go. And and so I've just built on that and built on that, and I enjoy it now. It's kind of more of a just I look forward to it ever, when I'm hitting it. But so what got you into it? What drives you in this?
Well, what got me into weightlifting initially, I grew up in a pastor's home. My dad took a new pastorate, and when he moved, I ended up switching to a school where they had football, and the school that I had been going to didn't have a football program. And I'm a bigger guy, so obviously you show up, and the football coach sees a big guy walk in, and he's like, well, come play football. And um my dad in a lot of ways is my hero, and he played football, and so I'd always wanted to do it. I'd always been active in athletics, but football, just for my body size and type, was, I knew I would be good at it. So I signed up for football, and that was the first time I was introduced to the weight room. And I actually hated the weight room, not because I hated what I was doing, but I was just really embarrassed because I started playing football in 10th grade, and a lot of guys had 3 or 4 years under their belt in the weight room. And so for my size, I was actually really weak. So I just got after it and got after it, and I was so just focused on catching up, and I wanted to be as strong as everybody else. And I ended up starting on varsity for a few years, and I wasn't the greatest in the world. I didn't play in college or anything, but I had fun when I did it, and that got me just into the weight room initially. Fast forward a couple years into college, it actually kind of coincided with a bit of a spiritual rededication that I had. Just realizing that the way that I was living my life really wasn't, it wasn't like crazy, sinful or anything, but it was just like there's so much more that I could have been doing for the cause of Christ, and I could have been way more active in my church. So my freshman year of college, after taking about a year off, I actually stepped on a scale one time at a friend's house, like inadvertently. Just so I was like, oh, I wonder what I weigh now. And I had kind of ballooned up to 300 pounds, and I just saw that. I was like, there is no way I'm 300 pounds. And which is that was about a 60-pound gain from when I was in high school. And so I ended up actually getting back into the weight room to lose weight. I ended up dropping down to about 230 and started, normal, just lifting routine and got into it. And then I realized that, the cardio and the weight loss part of it, I really didn't enjoy anymore now that I was kind of,
I
sitting at the
I
weight.
understand.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, but man, I really like this lifting thing, and so I ended up just discovering powerlifting, like competitive powerlifting, and I just got into that, and actually competed for the first time this past January, and I had a blast, and I'm competing again in December. That's what I'm preparing for right now. I'm going to try to qualify for the USPA national meet, national
Awesome.
championship. So that's the goal. But yeah, I've gained a good bit of weight back from that initial loss. But I tell people it's different now because I'm in control and I put on the weight, to build up my strength. But yeah, I'm planning on, after I do this push for the USPA national meet, I'm planning on kind of cutting back down and trying to look good for a little while. But just to prove myself I can still do it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's unreal how these guys, I mean, they bulk up so huge. I met I was buying some weights today actually, and there's this guy that lives somewhat close to us that used to be a former world's strongest man competitor.
Mm,
And and he's, selling off a bunch of stuff. He's a little older now. He's trying to replace it with like really old weight stuff. So he's trying to get some of the original like things that guys would work with, and so he's selling all his stuff. But I uh I was talking to him a little bit. It's just, it's taken him all over. He's like, he's gone other countries because of it, and he thoroughly enjoys it. And I I found myself enjoying the strongman kind of stuff, the powerlifting kind of stuff, because a lot of it's super practical to everyday things. Like,
mm,
I've got two sons. I mean, they enjoy watching it. I'm like, well, okay. And so I got them down there. They're, just kind of messing around with me, but one of them's two, so he can't really do anything, but he thinks
yeah,
he can, lift everything.
that's right.
The other one's 9. So he's kind of on the cusp of, I can do some things. And I've dove into it. I mean, head first. I know in Texas, there's high schools that are teaching squats and deadlifts in elementary school. Like,
Mhm.
the science and the view of weightlifting has changed, how those things work, because they're so functional activities to everyday life. And I wonder, as you're talking, how does faith and weightlifting, powerlifting tie together for you?
So that's a great question. The name of my page, Muscular Christianity, a lot of people think that I just like came up with it, but it's actually a movement from the late 1800s and early 1900s. It was a reaction to a lot of the I guess social liberalism that kind of came into the
Mm,
church, and a
yeah.
lot of there was after World War One, especially, there was a steep decline of male attendance in church, and a lot of um, people saw this as like a social problem that the church really wasn't applying to men anymore. Which we know the
Mm,
gospel to everyone, but maybe the church didn't do a good job of reaching out to men, which I don't really agree with that opinion. But the byproduct was muscular Christianity as a movement that actually started in England and made its way over to the United States. And basically, it's the where we get the idea of like sports in school. Even that originates with muscular Christianity. The game of rugby and football come out of muscular Christian ideas that just physical exertion and athleticism and team sports, especially, that our body is not, we as people, we're not just a soul, we're a body as well. And not that, if we're physically fit, that automatically makes us more spiritual,
Yeah.
but that physical fitness, does have value to, team building with team sports. And that the lessons that we learn in sports ultimately make us better people, which can make us better Christians and better citizens. A lot of people, will think, in First Timothy 4, where Paul says that that bodily training is of little value. They take that to mean that, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Obviously, being godly and spiritual fitness is of so much more value than physical fitness. But Paul doesn't say that physical training has no value. And I think where that interaction comes with weightlifting is, it's a hobby that allows me to meet people that I would have never met before and just get to know people. And that's a great avenue for me to share the gospel. But then also, I think that with guys in church, I think that a lot of our young men in churches and a lot of, just mainly young men in churches and just men in general, I think that they would benefit, a lot of Christian guys would benefit from physical fitness, because like you said, I find that when I learned the discipline of getting in the weight room, 5 times a week, I started eating right, and I just learned that process. It actually like taught me a lot about my walk with God, because in the same way, um, you might go in the gym and you may not, feel good when you lift that day, but you still go do it. It's the same way. I apply the same things that I learned in the gym to my walk with God. It's not an option, whether I read my Bible or I'm spending time in prayer, because, in the same way that I can build strength and build endurance and build all these sorts of things, that our faith, kind of works the same way, that, God gives us spiritual disciplines to grow our faith. And I also think that, as far as just, especially with my role as a youth pastor, I think that like growing physically and being physically capable is important for people, especially guys in church. I think um, especially for young men, we need to have good able-bodied young men in the church to help out our
Yeah.
elderly, the widows of the church, the elderly in our church.
Yeah, that's really good.
The
Yeah.
videos of the Amish, carrying barns for people and everything. I
Yeah.
think we have to, necessarily do that. But I think that young, healthy, physically fit, spiritually fit young men, that's not going to be a bad thing to anybody. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody would contest that would be a bad thing. And I think that our churches are doing a lot for spiritual fitness. But I think also, we can work on physical fitness as well. Because obviously, with our modern society today, physical health really
Yeah.
is just deteriorating for a lot of people, and it's seen as unimportant. But yeah, I think that Luke 2:52, that talks about Jesus growing up, that he increases in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man, that we need to grow physically, we need to grow spiritually, and in relationships with others, and ultimately in our relationship with God. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of how I make those two interact for me.
Man, that's good. I like how you put able-bodied young men to help the elderly. Like that's something I don't think that's ever talked about. But that's
Mhm.
so true. That's a really, really good point. I really like that. I'm gonna probably use that at some point. Uh, I've got
Feel
some,
free.
you know, it's kind of funny. You're talking about Jesus there too. We were watching back at Easter. I had our teens watching The Passion of the Christ. Somebody wanted to watch it, so I'm like, okay. And so, Jesus is up there carrying the cross. And I know it's a movie, but still, he's carrying the cross. Somebody's like, well, why couldn't he just, pick that up? And I'm like, well, you don't really realize how much those things weighed. Like both beams would have ended up weighing, they expect or suspect about 300 pounds. So just what he was carrying would have probably been roughly 200, and just been beaten, just been whipped, all those types of things that we know that happened. I'm like, Jesus was pretty ripped. I mean, he had to have been to
Yeah.
carry all that weight. And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
this kid, he's kind of into weightlifting and stuff too. So
Mhm.
I'm like, he's like, oh, I didn't think of it like that before. But I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of things that go here that, I mean, we just kind of glance over. But I mean, there's a reason Paul was able to come back so many times. I mean, I think he took his training and his physical health very seriously. I think it was a key part of his life, because you read in Acts where he was beaten nearly to death, but then he comes back. Well, somebody in not good physical health, they're not coming back. I mean, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so I think you are spot on. What do you think some things a church could do to kind of encourage more of this physical side of things? Because I agree with you, the spiritual side, I think most churches are trying and do a decent job at that. Most
Mhm.
churches, but I agree with you. The physical side, the bodily training, those types of things. What do you think a church could do? What are some steps or some things you've
Well,
seen?
well, I want to like I want to just like I guess put in the caveat that like I don't necessarily want to like make a blanket statement that it's like the church's job to to focus so much on physical fitness. And actually that's one like problem that I have with the muscular Christianity movement back in the 1900s is it ended up becoming more about how we can better society and just make everybody healthy and less
Mm,
about the gospel. But definitely I think the church has a role to play in that. And I think it starts off. I think that in the pulpit mainly, I think sometimes in America we can kind of we can have a tendency to kind of separate our spirit and our body a
mm,
little bit too much, to the point where
yeah.
it's all about our spiritual selves, but we can neglect our physical selves. And obviously, I would definitely say that your spiritual life is more important. But I think that like I mentioned in Luke 2:52, when Scripture talks about Jesus growing up, it's not a one dimensional thing that Jesus grew in wisdom or he grew in stature. It's all together, and I think that it mainly starts coming from the pulpit that we can preach that our body is a temple. And obviously that verse is speaking specifically of sexual immorality, but I think that principle applies to our entire person. That if we're going to treat our body like a temple of God, then it needs to be healthy, right? And again, I just think that kind of starts from the pulpit. But as far as practical things, I really think so. My idea, and just being a part-time uh, youth pastor right now, being a full-time seminary student and then doing other work on the side, I really don't have time to fully flesh this out in my own ministry just yet. I'm going to have to wait until, I have more time to devote to ministry. But I mean, I would really like to, I love, small group discipleship and studying scripture together, but I want to try one day. I promise I'm going to do it one day. I want to try kind of molding that together with maybe like getting 3 or 4, young men at my house together and having a garage gym. We can go lift weights and then do a Bible study and things. But basically, just put an importance on, hey, we're going to take care of our bodies too, and that's like a cultural thing. We need that our church. We're a healthy church. We're gonna exercise together. And it's not get everybody together on Sunday night and exercise after service,
Yeah.
but I just think it's like a natural cultural thing that we can put an influence on this. And I think a lot of churches used to do that more with like church sports leagues. I really don't
Yeah.
hear of those anymore, but a lot of churches used to have like softball teams or different things, and they would
Yeah.
practice together. And that's a great, it's not weightlifting, but that's a great way to stay in
Yeah.
shape, is just practicing for a sport. um but yeah, those two things, I think, mainly just switching the culture ground up. Making if you make bodily exercise a part of your life and you have good fellowship with your church, that's naturally going to spread. And then I think also from the pulpit, we need to definitely be preaching that our bodies do matter. We need to take care of what God has given us. And healthy Christians are effective Christians. Healthy
Yeah.
Christians can go out into the world a whole lot easier than an unhealthy Christian can. And again, obviously, I'm not saying that if you're not physically fit, you're not as good of a Christian. But I never want to say that. But I think that there is value, that bodily training does have, as Paul says, some value.
Yeah. Man, that's good. I really like that. I think there's a lot of people that I mean, that's their avenue. They enjoy doing it. Why not try to get a few guys to just do it with you? I think
Mhm.
a lot of times we try to make evangelistic goals, sharing the gospel way too complicated.
Yeah.
And if we would just take advantages of the things that oftentimes we're already interested in, and just the doors open there for us already,
Mhm.
why not just jump on that? You know what I mean?
Right.
I just if someone's wanting they're listening to this, they want to get into some type of physical strength, whatever training, and maybe they're scared of it, maybe they've never done it in their entire life. I I've got a guy that I'm going to have on here in a few weeks. I think he was 50 when he started.
Wow.
Uh yeah, weightlifting, but I'm like, what would you say to that person? What's something that will help them get them started? Maybe there's a program out there you like, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would just say, to speak specifically on the, being nervous about getting started or not knowing where to start, I think everybody has that gym anxiety the first time you start. But what I will tell you is that in my experience getting started in the gym and in the experience of so many people I've talked to, is this image that our culture has placed of, these like bodybuilders and gym rats, is, they're so like judgmental and everything. But really, the guys in every gym I've been a part of, at least the big strong guys, if you just go ask them like, hey man, how do I do this exercise, or could you give me some advice, they're going to be more than happy to help you. That would
Yeah.
be like going to a, if you ever have been to a car show, you don't go to a car show and ask that guy like, hey, tell me about your car. And you're like, well, you don't know already. Nobody says that. Like, they're excited to tell you about this car. It's
Yeah.
the thing with the gym. So many people are going to be more than happy to help you out. And because at the end of the day, everybody's in there for the same reason, to just
Yeah.
better themselves. As far as what to do, I would say don't overcomplicate it. So many people, we live in the social media age where you can go on one app and you can have five different, you know, complete worldviews on the same app, and they'll never intersect with one another. And it's the same with fitness.
Yep.
You can have five people saying five completely different things, and then you don't know who to trust. I would just say, to keep it simple, start with, just do something that you enjoy. I got into the gym and I did not enjoy the machines and the bodybuilding end of things. One of my roommates, one of my best friends, he that's what he's all about. He's
Mm.
trains for bodybuilding. He eats, the 6 square meals a day of chicken and rice, and he's all about it. And that's just not what gets it for me. I don't really enjoy that. But I would say that both of us are pretty physically capable guys, and so you really just need to find what you enjoy doing. You need to ask yourself, can I do this like regularly for the rest of my life, and will I enjoy it? And for some people, weightlifting, that might not be it. Some people may enjoy hiking or running or something. And I don't understand that personally. I like to hike, but I hate running.
Dude, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but if you can just see yourself lifting twice a week for the rest of your life and then just focusing on running, that's great. Do that. But lifting specifically, I would say early on, you need to focus on compound barbell movements. So your squat, your deadlift, your overhead press, and your bench press. Those four lifts, I think, if you only do those four lifts, you're going to see results, and good results. And that's what happened to me. My first year, 2 years lifting, it was virtually all barbell, and I built up a strong base and really set myself up for success, just because I built a good, strong base. I would highly recommend. There's an app on most phones. It's called Strong Lifts 5x5, just a 5x5
Yeah.
program. You can't really do it forever because eventually you'll outgrow it as far as your strength. But I would just recommend, just learning the basic barbell lifts from someone at your gym, or watching plenty of YouTube videos. I actually learned from the Art of Manliness,
Yeah.
uh, McKay, from his YouTube channel and blog. I actually got into lit. I actually kind of learned how to lift as far as like programming and stuff from his blog and page. But yeah, just the main bar. I would just stick to the main barbell lifts if you're starting off. Learn from someone and just be consistent and have fun with it. So many people,
Yeah.
they'll go in, and because someone told them that they have to do something a certain way, then they'll do something that they just absolutely hate. And
Yeah.
I do lifting and powerlifting because I hate it. I absolutely love it, and that's why I do it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. So find something you like doing, keep it simple, and just be consistent at it, and you're going to see results. Especially in your first year or so of lifting, you're going to see so many results. It's going to be so addicting. I just know it. If you get started and you start seeing that strength build, you know,
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop.
Yeah. That's awesome. Who are there any guys that you kind of just follow that you say this guy does it right? Like just some names out there. Maybe people just go look at and be like, I know you mentioned Brett, but from Art of
Yeah.
Manliness, and I watched him too. Yeah.
Mhm.
He's got some really good ones.
Well, it's kind of hard to say because I'm kind of in the powerlifting niche, and again, I don't think powerlifting's for everybody. I have a frame that's built for it, and so I love doing it. But I don't have a. You'll never see me doing CrossFit, and some people are built for CrossFit, and they have fun doing it. So again, there's a lot of people. I would say Alan Thrall, his
Mhm.
YouTube channel, he runs Untamed Strength. Just from a general strength perspective, I think that his channel is one of the best for beginning lifters to watch, just to learn how to do barbell training, and he's very beginner friendly as far as he's not very dogmatic about what he promotes. He kind of has the same mentality of what I just said. Have fun and enjoy yourself lifting, and start slow kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll recommend Alan Thrall. Um, Really, the main thing that I would say to watch out for is it's hard for me to come up with individual names and say, yeah, these guys do it right,
Sure.
but it's easy for me to tell you who's doing it wrong. And if you come across a channel that what they're saying is, this is the way, this is the one way to do it. Scripture tells us, let every man take heed lest he fall. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the same with YouTube fitness. Is, if someone claims to have, the one answer, they're probably selling you something, and it's probably not true. Um,
You're right.
yeah. um, but yeah, I also would recommend the Iron Culture podcast. It has Omar Isuf. He's on it. I really like
Oh,
his
yeah.
channel on YouTube. He does good stuff. And then as far as like just science back things, Dr. Mike Israetel, he has a YouTube channel that he posts videos just kind of breaking down, and his channel is more for advanced people that want to dive all the way into it.
Yeah.
And he does a good job of breaking things down if you ever want to learn. I also recommend the Starting Strength people for beginning lifters, how to learn barbell movements. That's who Brett McKay did his videos with. And I think they do a good job of breaking down lifting for beginners. So yeah, that's who I would recommend generally.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. There's just tons of people you can go watch.
Yeah.
There was a couple that I watched intently when I was getting back into it. One of them, I think he passed Mountain Dog was his
Yep.
YouTube.
Mountain Dog. Yeah,
I think he passed last year, but kind of
he
a
did.
weird like brain aneurysm or something. It was
Mhm.
very odd, but I loved watching his because he would just isolate movements and just break everything down. So I really liked watching his, and there's some other guys I enjoy just watching just to kind of watch. I like the strongman stuff too.
Oh,
It's
I
just
love
fun.
strongman.
I the Stoltmans are funny. Like I
Yes.
like Luke. It doesn't matter who's up there. You can always hear him in the background cheering him on.
Mhm.
And most of those guys, they're not like that. Like, and he's just cool to just watch. Brian Shaw, he's kind of the standard for everything.
Yeah.
I like him. I'd be interested to know what his personal beliefs are. And I don't know.
Mhm.
because he is very much a family guy, dedicated,
Yeah.
works. I'd be interested to know.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I'm a huge strongman fan too. After, I go through, as I've already mentioned, trying to go as far as I can in powerlifting with this little next push I'm going to do over the next few months. And then after I go through my little, physique revamp, I guess you can call it,
Yeah,
lose a good bit of weight. I love strongman, and I eventually want to start competing in like middleweight strongman stuff. Because strongman training to me is so much more fun than powerlifting. Um,
yeah,
but powerlifting is just what I wanted to start off with, build a good base, and then yeah, I eventually want to do strongman. But yeah, I love the Stoltmans. I love Brian Shaw. There's so many strongmen that I just watch just for fun. I wouldn't recommend them to somebody to learn, but yeah, I keep up with the strongman scene, watch everything. Uh, I'm hoping to go watch World's Strongest Man this next year. It's in Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. So
yeah,
I'm really hoping to go watch World's Strongest Man because it's usually out in California, and
yeah,
I can't make that drive. But um, since it's
yeah,
here on the East Coast, I'm planning to be there. But I think Brian Shaw. I don't know about him, but I would say I'll put it this way. I would be surprised if he was not a believer, because just some of the
yeah,
things that I've just seen from him, some of the comments he's made, he's actually gotten in trouble for, just his views on family and the world.
yeah,
I think that he is a believer, but um, again, yeah, and I mean I've seen him do like family pictures for Easter, which I know that doesn't mean much, but that at least he's been in church on Easter. So
yeah. It gives you a little hint, maybe.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm right there. I'm right there with you. Yeah, like I know, like Trey Mitchell is, and he's kind of an up and comer. He's won
Mhm.
that Shaw Classic 2 out of the
Yeah.
3 years, which is
Mhm.
impressive. But um, and there's some others like there was some guy at World's Strongest Man from maybe it was Australia. I think he could sing like really well.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Eddie Williams or something like
Eddie Williams, yeah.
that.
He I guess he's pretty outspoken on his Instagram too, but it's just kind of cool to see, like, guys who can balance all those things, because
Yeah.
it's just different when you're a professional athlete, and there's different challenges with that. I used to live on the north side of Indianapolis, and lots of Colts players. Like, we had youth group at this guy's house. He lived 3 houses down from Dwight Freeney and Tony Dungy. So
Okay.
like, yeah. And I'll never forget, like I'm at a youth football league game one day. Our one of our pastor's kids was playing. I look over and there's Adam Vinatieri, the old Colts kicker,
Yeah.
standing like 10 yards from me because his kid was playing. Like,
Yeah.
all right, where am I? It's just
Yeah.
different for those guys, man. They live in this different world, and how they balance all those things. Like, it's interesting to watch, but I'm even more glad when they come out and say, yeah, this is what I believe. I don't make a huge deal about it, but that's where I'm at. It's cool to
Mhm.
see, I think.
It is.
Yeah. So let me ask you, where can people, I know you said Muscular Christianity. Is there anywhere else people can get a hold of you, reach out to you if they have questions? Just
Yeah,
send you.
so it's mainly just the Muscular Christianity Instagram page. That's just at Muscular Christianity. There's a little bit of confusion with some of my followers. Like there's a big like fitness meme page called at Muscle Christianity, and that's not me. People think we're the same person, but it's just at Muscular Christianity. No underscores, no dots, no anything. Just Muscular Christianity. Um, that's the only real avenue that I have right now. Um, I'm hoping pretty soon to expand into a podcast. Just mainly just bringing in guys to talk about lifting and faith and things. My roommate and I are planning on being the two kind of co-hosts of that, and then we're planning on starting that late this year. And then I eventually want to
Awesome.
expand to a YouTube channel as well, to hopefully put out some longer content things where maybe if you ever have this podcast with someone in the future, maybe we could just point them to my channel to, show them
Sure.
ropes of lifting and things like that, because I do think there's a need for a good, faith-based fitness YouTube channel. But yeah, currently, as you know, I'm probably preaching to the choir, being in seminary and everything. It's kind of hard to do
Yeah.
everything you want to do at this stage of life. But yeah, just the Instagram right now at Muscular Christianity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll put all that in the description and all that too, so people can get a hold of you if they have questions or just general interest. I walk away from this, and the one thing that stood out to me more than anything is that yes, you love weightlifting, but at the center of all that you're doing, it sounds like the gospel is always there. Like that
Mhm.
seems to be, you've worked it in so many different times, and I love that. Like just that the gospel just kind of flows out of you, and you wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for the gospel, and that's awesome. I really appreciate hearing that, and I think it's going to encourage a lot of guys who are into both of these realms. Like they love sharing the truth, knowing the truth, but then they also like weightlifting and that physical training. They love that too. So I love how you have intertwined those two things here, and I think it's going to be super encouraging to those who listen to this that they can do that too. So I mean, man, press on, keep going. When you get
I
that channel
appreciate
up, dude, let's do this again, and we can get it out there and get your content out there, because I think a lot of guys would benefit from it, because you're right, there are not a lot of faith lifting channels, and I think if somebody came out with that, I think it would blow up. It might take a while because people are like, oh, is this guy legit or not? And then when they see
it.
you are, yeah, it's gonna blow up. So you have any parting words, anything you just want to challenge guys with, anything like that?
I guess it's if I had to just give one challenge, man, it would just be um going back to what I said about Luke 2:52 about the ways that Jesus grew. I mean, those are the ways that I think that all Christian people are called to grow. But in our context here, obviously, the Be a Man podcast,
Yeah.
we're kind of focusing on one of the
Yeah.
sexes. So
Yeah.
I would just say, to grow in those four ways, to look in your life and see how you're growing in those four ways with relationships with others, relationship with God, and then growing in wisdom and growing physically. And I mean, that's kind of like the hashtag that I always put on all my posts is hashtag pray, lift, read. Those three things, those will ensure that you grow. And then you do those things with other people, and boom, you're growing relationally. So there's all four ways. But yeah, that's my main challenge, is just to make sure that you're growing in your faith, growing in lifting, and being useful for the gospel and being useful for your family.
It's awesome. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a really good talk. It's been encouraging to me personally, but I think it's going to be encouraging to a lot of others too. So I want to tell you, I think it's going to really encourage men. My mission is encouraging men to be better men. And I think this is going to do exactly that. And I just want to tell you, I really appreciate it. And I look forward to doing it again at some time.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed being here, and I appreciate what your page and your podcast does. I'm not a father myself, so I learned some things from your page as well for the future. So thank you for all that you do.
Yeah. I appreciate that.